And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here fit and firing, recording on a very, it's kind of a very autumn-like Saturday morning here.
Starting to cool off, Nick.
It is, mate. We don't like it. Jumpers are out today. Joining me to make the magic happen, Mr. Row Hancock. How are you, pal?
Good, mate. Good. We're full swing in the playoffs.
What a week it's been for both the NBA and NBL. The first, for the NBA, the first round, should I say, of playoffs. Just done and dusted. We've got one game going on as we speak between the Timberwolves and Grizzlies.
Yep.
But, mate, what a week it has been. The action has been non-stop. There's been no rest for the wicked, but we love it, don't we?
Plenty going on. A lot of upsets. Which keeps things interesting. And we thought it might happen. We thought there might be a bit of unpredictability and a few upsets. So now it's kept us on our toes. Yep.
There you go. Oh, you're a Coke. We are without today our little running mate Lee. He is feeling somewhat under the weather. He went to Melbourne during the week and has come back with quite a nasty cold, bit of the flu. No COVID though, thankfully, but he won't be joining us today. We look forward to him gracing us with his presence next week.
Absolutely.
So you and I again holding down the fort, mate.
Holding down the fort. I'm getting used to it, Nick.
Yeah, I know. We're just pillars of consistency here, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Guys, before we get into it, though, a couple of big shout-outs, namely to the Spotlight Sports Network, Pop Culture Pros, and The Cover. We're stoked to be part of all three networks there, doing tremendous things in the pop culture and the sporting area, just giving up-and-coming content creators another platform to express and share their own projects. So we really appreciate what all three of them are doing and look forward to their continued support. Also, I've got some, I'll touch on it in the NBL point, another little shout out, but we'll get to that shortly.
Little teaser, Nick.
Guys, we're going to get into odds and ends. We've got a lot to get through today. So without further ado, let's start with odds and ends.
Yes.
And I've got here a couple of awards that we got throughout the week. We started with Scotty Barnes winning Rookie of the Year. So I guess we'll touch on that. How do you feel about that?
Well deserved. I personally thought Evan Mobley would take it out.
I thought Mobley would too.
To be perfectly honest, when I saw Scotty Barnes was the recipient, I was over the moon for him because no one coming into this season gave him a chance for that Rookie of the Year award. There was a lot of raised eyebrows when he got picked at that pick 4. So, yeah, well done to Scotty.
Just quickly, though, I was pretty disheartened with the lack of love Josh Giddey got.
How many votes did he get in the end?
He got 0 first-place votes.
What?
Can I just say, this guy, I know I don't want to take the shine off Scotty Barnes, but a little bit of Aussie pride here. This guy won Western Conference Rookie of the Month 4 months in a row. Youngest player in NBA history to record a triple-double. Now, I think he's got the top 2 or 3 youngest triple-doubles there, but nevertheless, I know he missed some time, and you take that into account. But the fact that he got 0 first-place votes is just quite shocking to me.
That is news to me, Nick, and that's blasphemous. I hate that.
It is blasphemous. But, taking nothing away, we're certainly looking forward to recapping OKC's season over the coming weeks, and we'll talk more on Giddey. But back on Barnes, a big congratulations.
Good on him.
As you said, no one gave really him or the Raptors organization much of a chance this season, and they've surpassed all of our expectations. So very well deserved there.
Indeed.
Now a little bit of a contentious one here with Ja Morant winning Most Improved Player.
Yes. Yep.
This is getting a bit of backlash just purely for the fact that people think Ja is too good for this award.
Yeah. Well,
that he was almost like an MVP, I guess, candidate in points throughout the season that he shouldn't almost be warranted Most Improved.
Yeah, look, I personally thought he should win it. He's gone from like star, well, not even star. He's gone from a really good player to an absolute superstar of the league. Yeah, so in terms of being most improved, I would argue that he's been the most improved this season. But
DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole, Darius Garland were the 3 names that people thought should have probably picked up the award.
Oh, they should all be in contention. And look, at the end of the day, if any of those blokes won the award, I'd be more than happy with that. But there probably needs to be clearer guidelines around what this award actually is. Because I think that's the reason why there's been so much backlash over the last week or so since it's been announced. So if they could have some clearer guidelines, what actually what's
what constitutes a most improved player? Is there like almost there's no clear way to kind of segregate it, but is it, if you're a superstar to star player, are you almost not allowed to win it? Is it for role players making that jump to a star player? There's no real way to gauge that.
There's not.
There needs to be some clearer guidelines for it because it is getting a bit of backlash. But I 100% in agreement think that Ja Morant was like the leap he took, was phenomenal. And certainly warranted the award.
And I mean, just because he's been most improved, and he's also, I guess, been in contention for MVP, he'd probably be around that 5, 6, 7, top 7 MVP. It shouldn't really count me out from the most improved. Like you can, in my mind, I think you can be both most improved and contending for an MVP award.
That's a good question. That leads me to a little follow-on, I guess, from that. Yeah. Do you think we will ever see, or do you think it should be allowed, that a player is able to win most improved player and MVP in the same season?
I don't see why not.
How would that be? Wouldn't that just be incredible?
Like, why not? I just don't understand. Like, someone could be the most valuable player for their team and improve immeasurably from one season to another. So, I'd be interested to know why not. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be fun. I think that would be really fun to see someone actually do it. And I don't think if they've got a respectable case and deserve it, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be entitled to win both.
Exactly right.
Moving on, Nikola Jokic. Now, we'll talk about the Nuggets maybe a little bit later on. But after some, I guess, poor news being knocked out by the Warriors, Jokic is expected to sign the largest contract in NBA history, 5 years, at $245 million, averaging $49 million a season. How's that?
Do you know what? He deserves every dollar. He deserves
every dollar across 5 seasons. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, the Nuggets will be throwing the absolute budget of their city to keep him in Denver.
And rightly so.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
Is a generational player. And what he is, like, we've seen the way he's carried this team this season without Murray and Porter Jr., which we'll touch on again shortly soon. But he is certainly more than deserving of that contract.
Do you know the thing I love about Joker as well? In a presser after they lost that series against Golden State Warriors, he still wasn't sure if the Denver Nuggets would offer him that supermax. He's still humble, and he's still not sure whether he's, the Denver Nuggets think he's as great as he actually is. But
get your bag, my man. You're potentially about to come a back-to-back MVP. Not many people in NBA league history have done that. So you are certainly deserving of that.
Absolutely. Good on you.
Another big man, Joel Embiid. He's suffered a bit of an injury here in his right thumb. He's expected to undergo surgery in the off-season, but he's determined to play through the pain whilst the season's still going in the 76ers push towards hopefully a title. But how much of an impact do you think this will have? It's for a guy who, he gets a lot of free throws, a lot of knocks in the paint. It's not an ideal injury because, basketball, we do use our hands so much.
Absolutely.
So it is could have quite a big effect going forward.
Yeah, it will have an effect, but I don't think he'll let on too much about that. At the end of the day, all throughout the season, these players get these niggling type of injuries. Obviously, this injury is probably a little bit more severe than niggling, but he's just going to have to soldier on because
suck it up.
Philadelphia 76ers are at the point where they obviously need him to be at his best to, have a shot at the title this year.
Certainly.
And it's just at that time of the year where you just have to push through these
things.
And the
natives are restless, aren't they? They are getting restless.
They are.
They've been, it's been growing over the last couple of seasons.
And they have been for
I feel as if they flame out this season, it could be, there'll be fists banging on the door trying to come in and just tear down the house, I reckon. So, look, watch this space on that one. Quick shout out as well. Last point from me on this. Oh, no, I've got two actually. Another injury point I'll start with. Chris Middleton.
Yes.
Big blow on this one. His initial diagnosis is, it's more severe than what we first thought with that MCL sprain. It's been upgraded to a grade 2. He now is set to miss the entire second round series against the Boston Celtics and maybe even further. But what a massive blow to the Bucks this is.
Oh, it's significant, isn't it?
For as much as we kind of hammer on what level Chris Middleton on the Ferris wheel, where you're going to get him at, he is a key cog in their operation.
Oh, absolutely he is. And I mean, these next few weeks will really put Giannis on show. How great is Giannis? Can he more or less single-handedly? I know the Bucks have Drew Holiday, and I rate him super highly. But at the end of the day, Giannis is going to be the man who's going to have to defeat the Boston Celtics almost single-handedly.
I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on that series shortly in terms of predictions and how many games. But I tell you what an opportunity it is for him to really assert himself in the game's all-time greats. If he can somehow will this team towards another title,
superhuman effort,
incredible stuff. Also, speaking of superhuman feats, Chris Paul yesterday So yesterday we had the Suns close out the Pelicans 115 to 108. Chris Paul broke history. He recorded the most field goals in a single game without a miss. He went 14 of 14 from the field, dropped 33 points on 100% field goal percentage. It's just incredible. Incredible.
Talk about taking high percentage shots. And I think that also comes back down to his just incredibly high basketball IQ.
Yep.
Like to be able to put himself in positions where obviously he's going to make more than he misses, but to put himself in the position where he gives him the best percentage to knock it down on the biggest stage of all. So,
mate, we go to the courts a bit. We haven't been in a little while. We need to put some work in soon.
Yeah, can't say the field goal percentage will be looking at.
I tell you what, let's go from the free throw line. We'll use that. Chris Paul was taking these shots here, there, and everywhere. From the free throw line, if you've got, say, 14 attempts, how many do you reckon you'd make?
Oh, you're going to make me look terrible here, Nick.
That's all right, because whatever you say, I probably better knock mine down one.
Do I have to be honest here? Or at my absolute best, I reckon I could knock down, I don't know, maybe a half.
I was about to say, I reckon if you get into a rhythm and routine, you get one or two early. I reckon if I went 50%, I would be stoked, and that's high watermark.
I think the thing about us though, Nick, is we're very streaky shooters and we're confident shooters. So if we start knocking a few down early,
could be on.
But
if we miss a couple early,
it could be there all day.
1-0 or 1 out of 14. But I'm looking forward to putting in some work again with you soon. I know we've spoken about getting a social basketball team in, so I'm sure that would be some good content for the listeners out there, hearing how our triumphs and failures go on the court.
Let's get a mixtape going, Nick.
Absolutely, mate. Do you have anything from the NBA that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think you've covered all the major points.
Mate, we have got a lot of news from the NBL. I'm going to start first and foremost with a big shout out to Mitch Creek and the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix organisation as a whole.
Yes.
Incredible circumstances how the JackJumpers made the finals this season. And it came down to the last game of the season. The Phoenix somehow willed themselves over the Perth Wildcats in overtime, thus ending the Perth Wildcats streak of 35 years making the finals.
Unbelievable.
Mate, you couldn't have made this, you couldn't have written a better script. For the season to end, what the JackJumpers had to do and overcome to make it, against all odds, like the smile, it was just radiating off me after that game.
Oh, as it was for all Tasmanians, I think. Came down to the very last game, but not even the last game, the very last play of that game it came down to. And everything just went our way in the end, didn't it? And, I think in our first season, to overcome the adversity that we have, and to make the finals, regardless of what happens from this point onwards, it's just an incredible effort and exceeded everyone's expectations.
And take nothing away from Perth, what they have done over nearly 3.5 decades, their organisation is such a well-run ship, and no doubt, we'll see them back in and around the mix again next season. Just a note on the Wildcats.
Yep.
Star young player there, Lukey Travers has officially declared for the NBA draft. So
I thought he might.
Looking forward to seeing what he can do. He's someone who has really caught my eye over the last couple of seasons, especially this season. Increased game time and responsibility. 24th of June, we've got the draft coming up. So looking forward to doing a bit of a preview on that and, kind of getting into some of these Aussie flavours.
I tell you what, there's been a fair few NBL players over the past week or two who have declared for the NBA
Usman
draft.
Deng as well, Hugo Besson. Some big names there. So we're going to have a lot to look forward to next season in the NBA.
It's a shame that we're losing them, but at the same time, we've said this for a long time, there's a lot of NBA quality in the NBL, and they're going to hopefully achieve their dream.
Beautiful, mate. A bit of news that was released the other day. The league is looking to implement next season, after taking, I guess, inspiration from the NBA, a play-in tournament at the end of the season to get into the finals.
I love this, Nick. I love this.
How good's this? And it just shows how progressive the league is as well. They're not afraid to implement new ideas, even though it's come from the NBA. But for the league here, I think it will just create so much more excitement. And we've seen the benefits it's had in the NBA. Like, teams are fighting harder for longer. More teams are involved.
The overall product is so much better with the play-in tournament. And I'm so glad that we've implemented this. And, you couldn't blame the NBL if they sort of just wanted to hold off for the time being.
Rested on their laurels almost. With the success we've had over the last season or two.
They've been very proactive with it, which I'm really glad to see. We're keeping up with the other major leagues around the world.
Absolutely.
So, very happy with that, Nick.
Well, hopefully a team that has this might benefit next season. The Brisbane Bullets, during the week they announced they've re-signed star player Nathan Sobey on a 3-year deal. Final year will be a team option. But that's a massive re-signing for them. It's been a bit of a bit of a struggle this season, but again, that playing tournament, that just opens it up. You know, you look at teams like Adelaide, Perth, who just missed out, the Phoenix, Adelaide even. You know, there's a lot of quality within the league, so it'll just open up these games and make it more competitive for longer. So really looking forward to seeing how that plays, and really glad to see Sobey. You know, he's, you know, the year before last, what year are we now? We're 2022, aren't we? God, disgusting. 2020, 2021.
Yes.
You know, he's up there as an MVP candidate. So looking forward to hopefully seeing him hit his straps.
Yep.
But speaking of MVPs.
Oh, Nick.
We had the NBL award ceremony during the week. We had a new MVP crowned. So I'm sure the blokes from Fifth and Dribble would be happy. Jalen Adams of the Sydney Kings is now the new MVP of the league. Just overtook their Bryce Cotton, who finished second. But what a season for him it's been.
Oh, it's been incredible. You love to see it
watch,
as well.
Isn't he? He is so dynamic, and take, again, nothing away from Cotton. He's had a tremendous season and is, you know, the face of the league. But Jalen Adams.
It's nice to see a different MVP this season.
It is, isn't it?
We obviously went to see the Kings JackJumpers game a few weeks ago, and we can attest to how good Jalen Adams is as a player. He is so dominant.
He is a killer.
He's electric, and I love to see it.
Also, I guess speaking of other awards,
this is the main
This
award.
is the biggest one.
Yeah.
MVP don't mean squat.
No.
Coach of the year, our man Scotty Ross picked it up there.
Good boy.
And just, it's, you know, there couldn't be a more deserving bloke. The way he's taken this franchise from the ground up in the finals now is really a testament to the work he's done.
Yes.
I'll rip through the other winners though. Most improved player, Keanu Pindu from the Cairns Taipans.
Yep.
The sixth man of the year went to Shea Illy of Melbourne United, who will be seen later in action tonight.
Well done.
The best defensive player went to Antonius Cleveland from the Illawarra Hawks.
He's a rock.
He has been a star.
Yep.
Let's get into the all NBL teams.
Let's do it.
The second team was Matty Dellavedova,
Go.
Josh Adams from the JackJumpers, Chris
Josh.
Goulding, Mitch Creek, and Xavier Cooks.
A lot of quality in that second team.
A lot of quality, and it permeates through to the first team. We had Bryce Cotton, Jalen Adams, Antonius Cleveland, Vic Law, and Joe Lual Achul.
All the MVP type candidates in that first team.
You just, you know, you've only got to rattle through those two teams to see the quality within the league, and it goes deeper than that.
It does.
Rookie of the year went to Bull Kuehl from the Cairns Taipans, as well, which I forgot to mention there. So I tell you what, the league is in such good shape. The health it's possessing. Let's rip ahead, though, to the finals. I wanted to get onto this. We started Thursday night. It was. I tell you what, I don't know about you, but the days just blend into one, don't they? Especially
it's a blur.
when playoffs are on.
Yes.
Like everything is just so high energy and octane, you lose track of it.
You do.
Thursday night, though, we started with the playoffs. Melbourne United beat the JackJumpers over in Melbourne, 74-63. It was a close game till halftime.
It was.
But the third quarter really, I guess, fell apart. Melbourne won that one 21-7, and they were just too dominant on the boards throughout the night. The overall count was 51-32 on the boards and 18-6 on the offensive boards. So
it's the offensive boards, isn't it?
They're a killer.
Really.
They're a killer, which didn't really have too much of a chance when you look at those stats, but hopefully can bounce back tonight.
Yep.
We'll touch on that in a moment. But last night we had the Kings and the Hawks. The Kings winning this one 89-79. I tell you what, the Kings, I really thought the Hawks were going to be up and about. They were early, but in that second quarter, the Kings went nuts. They won the quarter 30-9 and just really kind of set the stage. The game was almost over at that point. You know, the Hawks made it a little bit closer at the end to salvage some respect. But so as it stands, the Kings lead their series 1-0, and United lead 1-0 against the JackJumpers. Game 2 tonight, though. Big shout out to our long time partners and sponsors at Intersport Hobart. They have managed to hook us up with tickets to tonight's game. We are absolutely buzzing. Good seats too.
Mate, I thought we missed out. I honest to God thought we missed out. When you gave me the call and said we're on here,
mate,
I've never been, you couldn't wipe the grin off my face.
The energy down there at My State Bank Arena, 8 o'clock tip-off, it is going to be wild. We're going to be going off like a bull in a china shop.
Tell you what, the foundations in My State Bank Arena are going to be shaking.
There is going to be 5,000 strong plus going absolutely mental. You know, win, lose or draw, whatever happens, it's been a phenomenal season for the team. And just looking forward to seeing them turn one on. Seeing Delhi.
And seeing Delhi. Because
I know that was on your bucket list coming into the NBL season. We had to go see Delhi, and the moment is now.
I love Delhi, but look, at the end of the day, mate, I'd love for you to go home with a loss under your name, because The Jack Jumpers, I'm giving them a very good chance at the Fortress down here.
So am I.
We've played really well down here, with the exception of that Sydney Kings game, which we won't mention.
We won't mention. Cost me a carton.
It did. Oh, mate, don't bring that back up.
I've got just shout out the boys from 5th and Dribble. I've put a message out early to them during the week. If somehow the Jack Jumpers and the Kings both make the finals, I've got another carton on the line. So
double or nothing.
I love
that.
I think there's going to be a lot of responsibility tonight on Fabian Krislovic and our man Mikhail McIntosh. They're really going to have to lock up Luala Chul there, because he ran rampant the other night.
He did.
An MVP front runner he was, so it's going to be clamps on him.
The thing is with him is we actually had him under control in that first quarter. I think he had 0 points in the first quarter, in fact, and we were looking like, we're probably going to get on top of him here. And, as always with the really good players, they find a way. So, very good call. We need to keep on top of him in particular.
We're looking forward to breaking it all down next week. Be sure to stay up to date with our socials. We'll probably be active on there tonight, permitting the old reception sometimes gives and goes there, but we're incredibly excited. So all the best for the Jack Jumpers tonight, and we look forward to breaking down the NBL with you next week.
The Daily Dribble.
Beautiful. Mate, let's move ahead to our Manscaped ad read. Okay, here we go. We've just a shout out to the music. After a bit of a struggle, we've managed to bump up the audio tune here. So
it's been the bane of our existence.
It's given me an absolute headache. But nevertheless, into the ad read, Manscaped, our proud sponsors. Bro, I have a question for you.
Yes, Nick.
How many sensors are there?
4.
What? No, there's 5. Name them for me.
I don't know.
Mate, you've got your touch, your sight, your taste, your smell, and your feel, don't you? Your touch. Wait, shit, there is 5, isn't there? Hold on.
I don't know.
No, you're here. Sight, hear, taste, smell, touch. No,
I've got them all. Ones.
Nevertheless, I've really bottled that. But what is the most important one, bro?
I reckon the smell.
Mate, you are bang on the money.
Smell, Nick.
We have absolutely clamoured since our partnership started with Manscaped. They've officially brought out a deodorant here. Hopefully you can see that there in the camera for any of our YouTube watchers. Yep.
Yes, yep.
The deodorant. A roll-on deodorant that just reeks of that Manscaped smell we've come to know and love.
That trademarks stench, but it's a good stench.
Mate, I tell you what,
stench.
there's, people say you taste with your eyes.
Yep.
Well, I think you taste with your nose. And that's how you get a good gauge on people. With
Absolutely.
Smell. And there's no better way to make that initial first impression than with the Manscaped roll-on deodorant. I go to the gym each morning before work, have a bit of a freshen up, straight onto the deodorant. I exit the gym, mate, and heads just turn. Just turn. And it's not because of what's visually happening. It's all to do with that. That's
just the trail that you leave.
So, guys, if you want to get involved, use that code right there, that link in our bio as well, manscaped.com.au. Use our code DRIBBLE20 for 20% off.
20% off and free shipping.
There it is, mate. You love it. We love it. What more could you ask for? Guys, we are super, super excited. I'm going to put an email in the next week about the hair gel. They've listened to our first suggestion, the deodorant.
Yep.
It is going off. So, guys, if you want to smell as fresh as we do here at the Daily Dribble, use that code DRIBBLE20 for 20% off. Get involved, guys. Last day of testicular cancer. Cancer Awareness Month.
Yep.
It's a tongue twister every time.
That's the one.
Guys, get involved. Manscaped, thank you so much for your continued support. We appreciate it. Use that link, DRIBBLE20, 20% off.
Oh, dear, Nick. I've actually made it part of my daily routine, this Manscaped stuff. These Manscaped products, daily routine now. I've got about 7 or 8 products sitting on my sink, and all of them are getting an absolute workout. A
big workout.
Yep.
I just feel fresher.
You do, don't you?
Ad read's done. We're not blowing smoke up their crack now, but the smell and the actual products themselves. I had a shower this morning just before we came on. The old 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner.
Does the trick, doesn't it?
I love that. And just in terms of time efficiency, having that 2-in-1, love it. So
you're all about time efficiency, aren't you?
Mate, there's not enough hours in the day, is there? So without further ado, speaking of hours in the day, let's move on.
The Daily Dribble.
And let's just touch on, I've just got a couple of talking points here from the NBL, the week that was round 1. I'm not going to go into all the results, but you've got a few kind of questions and things to talk about with you. I want to start with the Pelicans. Now, what a story it's been. They started the season 1-13, and for all intensive purposes, we thought it was over. There and then. Done and dusted.
Yes, absolutely.
Against all odds. Made it through the plane, won 2 consecutive games, and just clawed their way into a first-round matchup with the Suns. And, I really gave them a bit of a chance here. I thought they had the Suns at times on the ropes. A game here or there went a different way. And we could be looking at the Suns moving forward. The Pelicans moving forward, should I say. It's not the case. The Suns got out in top 4-2. But I just want to ask the question, do we think the Pelicans will be back in the playoffs next season if Zion returns?
I think you'd almost have to say yes, wouldn't you? You would almost have to say yes, because the fact that they've managed to claw their way into there and then contend really well against the team which has been the dominant team for the course of the season in the Phoenix Suns, I would say yes. Is obviously going to depend on whether Zion Williamson is healthy
and how they fit him into that team as well now.
Yeah, I think they'll fit him in seamlessly, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, look, I would say based off everything we've seen, particularly in the latter half of the season when they've sort of made their assertions back up the standings, I would have to say yes. But what about you? What do you reckon?
What a stunning turnaround. I'm going to say yes. I'm buying into this team just from what we've seen since the trade deadline, acquiring CJ McCollum, and just seeing how him and Ingram work together. Thought there might almost be a little bit of disharmony, just kind of figuring out who's that alpha, who's that number one. But they're really doing it by committee, and it kind of puts them in good stead just for kind of getting Zion into the team.
Was the turning point when CJ came over? I would argue yes, because before CJ, they were looking very one-dimensional.
Yep. They were getting some more wins. They were getting there, but that CJ acquisition really got them over the line.
Yep.
And Jose Alvarado.
Oh, Grand Theft Alvarado. He's been great.
What a great little find he's been.
Yep.
Like their team as a whole, you look at, like, they're pretty well rounded. If you bring Zion in with Valanciunas, with Ingram, with McCollum, they've got top level talent.
Yep.
But they've also got, Herb Jones, who's really emerged on the scene this season, as you said, Grand Theft Autorado.
Yes.
They've got a good looking squad. And I think he's probably the piece, Zion. Like, he is, he's been out for a little while, but he's still that generational piece.
I believe so as well.
And the talent and bits he's shown, you put him back into the fold. I certainly see them back there next season.
Yep. So we think they will probably be contending for a playoff spot next season. What do they actually need, though, to get into contention to, be contending for the ultimate prize? Because as much as I think they will be contending for playoffs, I don't necessarily think even with Zion back, they'll be, championship contenders. So it might just be a bit more depth off the bench. I don't know.
I think that's it. Yeah. I think that's the one big move I would look to make. Just an out and out. We've got Devontae Graham, who's had a bit of a fall from grace. Friend of the show, his friendship starting to waver. But, people were clamoring for him for an all-star spot last season. But he is really kind of dipped off. But I think getting possibly like a bit of a wily veteran who can shoot the 3-ball.
Yep.
You look at what Kevin Love is doing this season, or if you could somehow swindle a Jordan Clarkson, even a Gallinari.
I was thinking that, yep.
I'm not sure how their books are looking, but something like that, just someone who can come off the bench, who's got experience on their side, but can just shoot the 3-ball and get some points on the board to keep things ticking over.
Need a few more pieces, but geez, they should really be in contention.
You should be excited if you're a Pelicans fan. So
particularly after the start to the season, that was
horrific.
Looking like a big dark
horrific.
Hole. Yeah.
My other point, another team that's had a horrific ending to the season, the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh dear, where do we start with them?
Swept 4-0 against an absolutely rampant Boston Celtics. Ben Simmons didn't end up suiting up at all. It's just so disappointing to see how these last 2 seasons have played out. Arguably maybe missed out on the championship by KD's big toe last season, and then just to go out without, in such a whimper this season.
They didn't even put up a fight, did they? It was really a shameful effort.
That first game, by that, it looked pretty much written in stone at that point.
Yep.
Kyrie was pretty good in that first game, but KD struggled. Tatum, all the boys had him on absolute clamps. Their defense was just stifling.
It was.
In terms of my question for the Nets, Ben Simmons, I don't want to talk too much about him, but hopefully he will be back next season. Time will tell. That's kind of like pissing in the wind, and you're not sure which way it's going to go.
Yes.
But Ben Simmons hopefully returns. Joe Harris comes back. What are you doing with this team? Is it time to get rid of Kyrie? get rid of a couple of pieces, build around KD and put competent role players around him? Do you run it back and see what they look like at full strength? Like, what route do they go now?
I don't know, mate. Honestly, like, Kyrie might get rid of himself, to be perfectly honest. Like, he just doesn't seem involved, or as involved as he should be with the game of basketball. So, look, I don't think they can run it back with the exact same squad that they've had. They have to make changes, obviously, because they've been highly touted as a legitimate championship contender. And on paper, they really should be.
They should be.
And they've come out in the first round. They've been swept. It's been, as I said before, a shameful effort, really, from them.
Imagine lining up all the series that we had in the first round, and that was the one that was the sweep.
We said on when we were doing our predictions that there's no way that this series cannot go 7 games.
I tell you what, for any of the punters out there, imagine how much money would have been lost going into the season. How many people would have put on, for the championship, the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah.
Vegas there would just be rubbing their hands together. Yeah. It's I held a lot of hope for this team this season with Harden, with Kyrie. Even once Ben Simmons came into the fold, I thought that if he gets on the court, you can see a world in which it works.
Yep.
But yes, a horrible, horrible ending to their season.
The thing with Ben Simmons as well, just quickly, I don't want to talk too long about him, but I think that his teammates would be extremely disgruntled with what they've seen since he's come over.
Yep.
To be standing on the sidelines in that kit that he was in the other day, which was just a shocking kit, by the way. But, then to just show no heart, no fight, no ticker. And, in the end,
can't be taught.
He only really needed to play that one game just to show, even like 10 to 15 minutes off the bench, just to show, okay, I'm here with you guys. I'm not here as an accessory. I'm here to actually attempt to help you guys salvage this series. And, it just shows no heart. And I don't think that's a good thing going forward for this Brooklyn Nets franchise. They're all going to be looking at him a little bit sheepishly.
I agree wholeheartedly. He's given them no indications that he's involved or invested in the franchise, which doesn't bode well when they've got so much money tied up into him. So watch this space on that one. Another bloke who had a shocker as well as the Nets, Trae Young. Now, across the 5 games, this guy, I rattled through his stats last week, but it got worse. He was 32% from the field, 18% from 3, averaged 6 turnovers a game. And across the 5 games, he was a cumulative minus 58 when on the court.
Wow. Oh,
not ideal. I know the heavy lies the shoulders that the crown hangs, or whatever the expression is, but he did have a lot on his shoulders. But wow, did he fall flat?
He did fall flat, but I think you've nailed it. Like, he did have probably too much on his shoulders. He needed the help, and you see those types of stat lines. Like, when you've got too much on your shoulders, it goes one of 2 ways. You're either going to be, having 50 each game on 50% shooting, or you're going to just fail miserably. And unfortunately, he did have a bit too much weight on those shoulders. Comes down to the fact, again, that the Atlanta Hawks need to make some changes over the offseason. He needs a bit more help because...
Was there a level of complacency after making the Eastern Conference Finals last year, do you think?
There really shouldn't have been. There should have been even more hunger, I would have thought, after falling just short. Like, I would have thought, to make the Eastern Conference Finals last year was a really huge achievement, and good on them for doing that. But at the end of the day, like, no one's going to remember you for making those Eastern Conference Finals. You have to put in more of an effort the next year. So, they've sort of flamed out, and it's been disappointing. But I'm still expecting them to bounce back next year. But it'll be very dependent, I believe, on, I guess, the changes that they make. Because they're very reliant on a few changes.
Capella's the big one, I reckon. John Collins, maybe. Gallinari, I reckon he's out. Lou Williams. I actually, the other week when we spoke about it, had to go look at their team list to make sure he was still on there.
Is he?
He is.
He is.
Yep,
I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Yep. No, neither. It was
Bogdanovich probably needs to be looked at. Yep.
Capella's the big one, though. So,
he is. Yep.
Okongwu's the future. He is the present, I reckon. So looking forward to seeing how that plays out with the Hawks' big off-season coming, you would imagine.
Yes. Yep.
Another team that I anticipate will have a big, well, maybe not such a big off-season, but a big next season, the Denver Nuggets. The question is, will they be a threat next season? A legitimate threat. This almost feels like a break-even year. We put something on our socials. Guys, check it out. We're active everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Put up, I guess, a bit of a question about the Nuggets, whether this season's considered a failure or a success. Now, for me, I thought it was almost just a break-even year, almost just a gap year.
Yep.
there's only so much that Jokic can do. He has, speaking about blokes with the weight of the world on his shoulders, he's first and foremost probably the name highest on the list.
Indeed.
But I guess just on that note, once you get Michael Porter Jr. back and Jamal Murray, are they a threat next year? A legitimate, like if you're looking at, the top 2 or 3 teams in the West, are they up there?
Yeah, I would have to say so. We've seen in previous years the Nuggets have been one of these teams who have sort of, to a certain extent, gone under the radar, and they've been able to make a few Western Conference finals. In saying that, the rest of the teams around them are getting better at the same time. So do I think that they will improve next year and will be around the mark? Certainly do. Do I think that they'll be legitimate contenders contending with the likes of Phoenix, who I think will be up there again, Golden State, even Memphis? I need to see what they can do in that early bit of the season next year to get a good read on them. Because
without seeing the players and how Porter and Murray look when they come back, let's do a little round robin. So you've got Denver against, let's say, the Clippers. Paul George and Kawhi back next season. Who have you got?
That's the thing. I'd probably have to go. I'd probably have to go with the Clippers.
I would go the Clippers. Yeah. Lakers. Let's say LeBron's back. Let's say AD's back healthy. We'll say they keep Westbrook, keep the team. Who have you got in that one?
Nuggets.
Got Nuggets?
Yep, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I actually don't know. I'm going to say Lakers. That's a tough one. The Clippers, I think, will pretty handily get over the Nuggets, but I reckon the Lakers is...
The thing with the Lakers is, they've left a bad taste in my mouth this year. So it's hard to get over that for the time being. Like, on paper, they should probably be taking that one, but yeah, they're going to have to turn things around for sure.
2 more. Pelicans with Zion back.
Against Denver?
Yep.
I'd be backing Denver in.
Okay. Yep. And last one, Timberwolves against Nuggets.
Denver.
Okay, there you go. So
I still rate Denver very highly, particularly with those 2 other key pieces back.
I think the big piece for them is going to be maybe reshaping their bench a little bit. I think you'd be absolutely delighted with the strides Bones Highlands made this season.
Yes.
Even DeMarcus Cousins, for all his worth,
Big boogie.
is a handy piece, I think, off the bench, and I would like to see him stay there. But I think you can look to kind of maybe offload Austin Rivers, Campazzo, just reshape and tweak a little bit around the edges. Once you get Murray and Porter back, whether it's Barton, whether it's Monte Morris, whatever, it's going to reshuffle their deck a little bit. I think they'll be up there. I reckon maybe they're the 4th to 5th best team in the West.
Agree. They're
not
in that bracket.
top echelon yet, but they're knocking on the door.
Yep.
And who knows what we'll see from both Porter and Murray when they get back.
I still think very respectable season given the outs that they've had, though.
Absolutely.
Jokic, absolute superhero.
Beat the Lakers, surpassed well and truly, shat on them this season.
He did.
I give them props for that. Last question, Roy. Oh, no, I've got 2 more, sorry. Do the Bulls give Zach Lavine the max this season? $212 million over 5 years.
Yeah, they probably do. Because, even though DeMar DeRozan's been absolutely outstanding this year, he's still a player who's probably getting on in years. And,
what is he, 33?
He'd probably be low 30s, I would have thought, without knowing for sure. But I think he's their future. He really is their future. He's the guy who they have to more or less build around going forward.
And it's not bad. He's 27, so 5 years, 32. That's not bad.
He's just about to enter his prime.
Yep.
And yes, I would love for him to get on top of his injury concerns, because that's been a little bit of a downer, and it's a little bit of a concern when you're looking to offer a supermax to someone who's had these injury concerns. In saying that, at his best, if he can get on top of them, which I think he probably can, I would be offering him the supermax.
Yeah, I think so too. I think in terms of the Bulls, their off-season, I think you almost run it back with the exception of probably offloading Vooch.
Yeah, Vooch. He's
undersized center who, he's made a career out of being able to shoot the ball. He has not done that well this year. Doesn't really offer a defensive presence. So, the idea of him was good, but the execution this season hasn't been there. I think he would look better because of his, being undersized and his lack of defensive prowess. He looks better when Caruso and Lonzo are in the team. But, both have missed quite extensive time, in particular Lonzo this season. So he has looked poor. And as I said, especially with him shooting the ball pretty god-awfully. But I reckon he's the piece you probably look to move on from and get a more reliable, sturdy centre.
Vooch, straight swap for Miles Turner. Thoughts?
Who wins that?
Well, they're both getting something different. I think you're getting more offensive prowess from Vooch, but you're getting more on the defensive end, and you're getting probably more from the 3 ball from Miles Turner.
I think that would look better for the Pacers if they still had Sabonis.
Yeah, that'd be a good 1-2 option.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know about that's a fun one though.
Yeah,
we'll fire up the old trade machine soon, I reckon, mate.
See if that works.
Last one for me, just a quick shout out to the Toronto Raptors. Went down against Philly 4-2. I tell you what though, when it was sitting there at 3-2, I thought, oh look out, could the 76ers really blow this? Like really bottle it? Raptors become the first team to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Wasn't to be, but take nothing away from their season. As we said at the top of the show in regards to Scotty Barnes, mate, what they've done this season is nothing short of phenomenal.
It's been incredible in every aspect. Yeah, in that series, though, I felt the strongest sense of deja vu. Like the past few seasons, seeing the incredible hype surrounding the Philadelphia 76ers and seeing Toronto slowly but surely claw their way back in, I thought you can't script this.
I was praying for it. Whatever happened, I was praying for a game 7 just to see those boys in Philadelphia shit the bed. Like, they would have been packing it.
Oh, they would have been turtling.
Doc Rivers, I tell you what, that guy, he would have had beads of sweat just dripping everywhere. But, for their season, what they've done, unearthing an absolute steal in Scotty Barnes. There was a bit of chatter going into the season that they maybe went overs on him a little bit there. But, with Jalen Suggs falling to 5th there. But I think they've well and truly come out a winner in that situation.
Aren't they so glad how that panned out? Like
incredible.
I know it's early days for Jalen Suggs, and I don't want to shit on him, but at the end of the day, the difference between Scotty Barnes this year and Jalen Suggs, obviously in different systems as well, it certainly has an impact, but the difference between those two have been enormous.
He's a killer, and their team next season, it's got a little bit of work to do to be again a contender.
Yep.
But you look at Siakam, Van Vliet, Gary Trent Jr., who's really come out as well.
Yep.
Boucher, Anunoby, Achua. You put their Scotty Barnes. They've got a great core. A really, really good core. And again, just another organization that's run so well.
Yep.
Even in a year that we think they're maybe going to bottom out, could look at tanking, they still somehow managed to claw their way up into the playoffs and really put up a really, really admirable fight.
They've just overexceeded everyone's expectations, and they probably don't have to make too many changes next year. Like they're, as we were just saying, their core is looking incredibly good.
Just be reliant, I guess, on growth from Barnes.
It will be
a little bit from Siakam, and just finding maybe that number one guy to be that scorer.
Yep.
But they look really good going forward.
Agree. Yep.
Mate, there is, I guess, recapping just a couple of points from round 1. Let's go into our round 2 predictions.
The Daily Dribble.
Okay. At the time of recording, by the time you guys listen to this, the playoffs, round 1 might be wrapped up.
Might be.
As we speak, as we said, the Timberwolves and Grizzlies are playing right now. I'm going to base my predictions on the fact that I think the Grizzlies will win.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose today, I think they'll win Game 7. So take it whichever way you want for that matchup. But we'll start in the East. We've got the Boston Celtics against the Milwaukee Bucks. Row, how do you see this series playing out? And how many games?
Enticing matchup this is.
Unbelievable.
Like it's sort of the same story with the Boston Nets series. Like I know we said, I don't see a world in which this doesn't go 7, but I do not see a world in which this series doesn't go 7 either.
Yep.
Obviously on the Bucks side of things, handling Giannis is always a handful. And I think that we're capable of actually limiting his production. Not to say he won't have incredible games, because he absolutely will. But
who are you putting on him? Or just done by
team
committee?
effort. Team effort. It has to be. You can't put one guy on Giannis. I think any team could probably attest to that.
Could you play the two bigs and put the Time Lord, big Rob Williams, on him and let Horford deal with Brook Lopez?
Rob's going to have to put in work.
He's going to have to put in work.
Shift. Definitely think it's going to be a team effort. And on our side of things, we've had some really coming of age performances, particularly in that last series. Like I think Jace Tatum and Jaylen Brown as that duo is looking incredibly
That's
good.
The best they've looked.
They have looked so incredible.
Like we saw them make the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago, and they've been in and around the mark. Like that was, and I kind of shat on them throughout the year. They looked poor in the first half of the year. They have, over the last few months, been the best team in the league.
Yep.
And that duo together in that series against the Nets, just on the defensive end, we've spoken about how good on that end they've been over the last few months, but that series was just phenomenal. The way they locked up KD, just as such a well-rounded team effort, and did it in big part without Rob Williams for most of the series.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, I would be getting very excited if I was a Beantown boy.
I'm over the moon. It's almost as if those two have matured into, I guess, what we thought their potential might be, and they're only continuing to improve. So I guess in terms of my prediction, prior to this series, if Chris Middleton was playing, as much as I've been impressed with the Boston Celtics, like the Milwaukee Bucks at full strength are incredibly difficult to beat, and I probably would have gone with them. But I think just with that out and what I saw in that first round, and what I've seen in this last half of the season, particularly defensively from the Boston Celtics, I'm going with Boston Celtics in 7 games against the Bucks.
Very good, mate. I tell you what, I was in the same predicament. I was trying to find any which way not to make it 7 games. And I was racking my brain. I was like, if this happens, maybe it goes 6, maybe. But I just couldn't do it.
No.
This series is going 7 games. I likewise have the Celtics. Again, as you said, if Middleton had been playing, I just think there might have been a little bit too much, I guess, too much offensive power, too much on the defensive end as well, just too much of that. Been there, done that. Going to the finals, they've got that cohesion.
Exactly. Yep.
I thought Bucks in 7, but what the Celtics did in that series prior, and just seeing Tatum as well flourish, just growing into one of the best players in the league.
Yep.
I think he's pretty comfortably now that number 1 piece.
Yes,
and it's been debated for so long. Is it Brown? Is it Tatum? And I think they're almost falling in line behind that. They know where each person sits. Brown's at number 2. The identity they've created for themselves on that defensive end of the floor, I think holds them in really good stead. I've got them in 7.
Quick question. Do you think Drew Holiday is going to be the most important player in this series with the out of Chris Middleton? He's got so much responsibility.
He does have a lot.
Because we know that Giannis is going to get his on any given night. You probably just settle for the fact that Giannis is probably going to have 30 and 10 every night. But
you know what? It's not. I think it might be Grayson Allen. And I say
Grayson, the villain.
I say that almost tongue-in-cheek because he's a dickhead and, he's one of the league's most hated players.
He is.
But what he did off the bench, I think that's maybe a real avenue that the Bucks could get over the top of the Celtics here, just with their bench production in terms of scoring. Yeah, and a little more on the offensive end. I think the Celtics, even when they bring on that second lineup, are good on the defensive end. But I think the Bucks' offensive side, if Allen can catch fire, and that might be the separation between the 2 points, I think he's got a real big role to play in the series.
I like that. And the other thing with these two teams is both structurally and I guess game plan wise, they're all on the same page. You see some of these teams go up against other teams whose game plan is a bit all over the place and they're not really sure what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be running. And it shows, but it's going to be interesting because it's 2 professional, really good outfits going up against each other. It has to go 7, Nick.
Beautiful, mate. Let's go ahead to the next series in the East. We've got the Miami Heat against the Philadelphia 76ers, Miami being the home team there. I might start with this one.
Please do. Give me a bit of time to think.
A bit of time to think. I think the Heat are going to be too good.
Yeah.
I've got the Heat in 5. I think Heat are going to be pretty dominant here and flex some muscle.
Yep.
I think they've got really good matchups just in terms of both ends of the floor. They've got dogs on D, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry.
Yep.
Even Big Maxi Strus. I'm stoked to see him in the starting lineup too. I think they're going to be too good. Yep. And I think if we can see more of what we saw from Jimmy Butler in round 1, being that real offensive
playoff Jimmy,
what he did against the Lakers in that bubble final series a couple of years ago, that's more of what we want to see from him. And they just look like they've got another dimension to them. They're not so reliant, as good of a 3-point shooting team as they are. When you've got Jimmy who can drive into the lane, attack, as well as knocking down the threes, which he was, I think they're going to be too good. So I've got Heat in 5.
I will go Heat in 6. I think that Bam Adebayo is a really good matchup for Joel Embiid because at the end of the day, that's the main guy that they're going to have to contend with on a nightly basis, because we know he's going to be reliable. But in terms of opposition, I think Bam Adebayo, who was up there in, Defensive Player of the Year, he's a good solid option. He can provide on offense as well. So it's not like he's going to just be defending all game. Like Joel Embiid's going to have his hands full defending him as well.
Yeah.
I think Miami just have a few too many pieces.
And they're bench depth. You look at Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Victor Oladipo. They've got a lot there.
They've got a heap of talent coming off that bench. So I think Philly are probably going to have their hands full. And I just have a bit more faith, and I guess faith that the Heat are going to show up on a nightly basis, whereas the Philadelphia 76ers, like you look at guys like James Harden, we know he's become one of these guys who is a little bit unreliable in the playoffs and has fallen short a few times. And I struggle to forget all those times where that's happened. So I think the Heat will get over them. Still expecting it to be a good series. We'll have games where Joel Embiid will obviously dominate, and there might be like a James Harden game or two where he goes off as well. But I don't think it's going to be enough as an overall team effort to get over the top of the Heat.
Well, as the late, great George Michael once said, you've just got to have faith.
Just got to
have a bit of faith. So I have faith in the Heat as well. How many games was it for you there, Ron? Six. There we go. Let's transition to the Western Conference and two big series as well. I tell you what, all four of these matchups are huge. It is really a creme de la creme of talent from the NBA. But in the West, we'll start with the Phoenix Suns against the Dallas Mavericks. Ro, what do you reckon about this one? The Suns, the home team in this one.
Yeah.
What have you got?
So for me, I guess having Devin Booker back obviously helps enormously. And you know what? Before, Devin Booker came back so quickly in comparison to what the reports were initially. I thought he'd be out for this second round. So that's a huge inclusion to have in playoff basketball. Dallas have had an incredible season, particularly the last half of the season, where they sort of again clawed their way back up, and
once again that mid-season acquisition, getting in Dinwiddie, offloading Porzingis,
absolutely
really kind of given them a little more freedom, and that small ball lineup is doing bits.
It's doing bits, and Luke has obviously been in MVP contention again. Jalen Brunson has just been absolutely stunning. He's been great. I think in this series, though, their season will come to an end. I'm expecting the Suns to get over the top of them in 5. I think they might pinch one off them, but I think just in terms of overall talent, the Suns have it all clicking. And if Devin Booker is back healthy again, as close as 100% that he can be, I think it's going to take an enormous effort from any team this year to defeat the Suns.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've got the Suns. I've got them in 7, though.
Yeah,
I see this series going quite deep, and I think that's purely based on how great I think Luka is and how great I think Brunson is becoming. I think most of these teams are, and I said 7. I think these teams will hold at home. I think this will be a series where each team holds at home, and thus with Phoenix having that advantage, having that game 7 at home.
Yep.
I think they'll get over the line. I'm really, really excited for this series. I think this is going to be fascinating. I think there's going to be some big performances from Booker, even Chris Paul, Doncic. Brunson's going to have to step up as well. But I think the Suns get it done. And I think, like you, I would hate to be coming up against them. They are going to be a hard team to stop.
There have been there, done that type of team.
Exactly.
And those coming up against those type of teams in the playoffs are never fun.
And the hunger as well. I think. For as hungry as I think Luka is, I reckon he could polish off a 3-course meal pretty quickly.
Yes.
But I think that hunger that Chris Paul has, been so close, never getting there, seeing the expression of Devin Booker once they lost to the Bucks last season in the finals, I think they are poised, primed, and really ready to go.
I think so. And the thing with Dallas, and the reason why I think, your 7-game prediction is, a possibility of happening, is they play with a chip on their shoulder. All of them play with a chip on their shoulder. Luka plays that bit angry, and I love to see it.
He's just a bit of a pig in there, isn't he?
He is a bit of a pig. But on the other side of things, you look at Phoenix and, my God, they've got a chip on their shoulder after last year as well, just falling short at the final hurdle. It's going to be an incredible series. I'd love to see Dallas take it up to them, but
and there's plenty of Luka magic. Shout out to our man Justin Schumacher, XL.
Hopefully, XL will be there.
Absolutely, he will be. He will be absolutely front and center. But looking forward to that series. The other series to take place in the Western Conference there. Now I'm going to put the little preface on this. As we said, the game's still going as we speak.
Yes,
haven't had a look at the results, but I'm going to say it's Memphis against the Warriors. Memphis being the home team for that one. I've got this one Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6. I think they'll just have a little bit too much firepower. I think we saw Steph come back into the starting lineup the other day. I think with Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole, I think Wiggins as well. I think Wiggins, Draymond Green, all these blokes, they're going to just be a little bit too deep and a little bit too strong. For as good as the Grizzlies have been, I think they're still a year or two away from matching it with these top 1 or 2 teams in the West, namely Phoenix and the Warriors. But hats off to them. I think Ja will have a massive series. I just don't think he'll have enough running mates with him.
This first round's been quite telling, actually, because the Grizzlies have shown that they can be susceptible at times, even to teams.
The T-Wolves should probably be leading the series.
Probably should be.
They've had a few games that they've dominated in and just let go towards the end there.
They should be in pole position, but they're not. And I think, just due to the fact of what I've seen in this first round, I've seen that Memphis Grizzlies, as great of a season as they've had, they've still got holes. They've still got a few holes, particularly in playoff-type basketball. Yeah. Regular season's a different game. Once again, the Golden State Warriors, they've been there. They've done that time after time. They've got the players who know what it takes to get there. And as we said last week, the Warriors at this time of the year are clicking on all cylinders. So
they're hungry too, aren't they? After having a couple of years, I guess, almost relegated to the lower leagues, injuries have really hurt them. They are hungry.
They want
it. Especially Klay Thompson, who's been out for so long, wanting to be a part of it all. Like his desire would be greater than almost anyone's.
Yep. Offensively, how good does that line up with Jordan Poole in it look as well now?
It's almost broken.
Yeah.
How good they are. Like it's
a cheat code.
I just don't know how the Grizzlies are going to keep up scoring wise.
No. It's just going to be on another level. I think their system's pretty good, the Grizzlies. I think their overall system and the buy-in is really good, but you can buy in as much as you want. Sometimes you just don't have quite enough to contend with these superstar-studded teams like the Warriors.
Mate, I tell you what, there is 4 massive series coming up. It's just ridiculous. As we said, the teams, the talent that's all set to take place. What is the series you're most looking forward to?
Boston Bucks. Yeah. Boston Bucks. It's a bit of a no-brainer, but just for the simple fact that I'm really intrigued to see if
that's mine as well.
Yeah, if we can come of age and, defeat the Bucks, even though they're not going to be at full strength, I think that's the one which is, as we were mentioning, most likely to go to 7, I would have thought. It's going to be the most anticipated playoff contest, I would have thought.
It feels like a finals matchup, doesn't it?
It really does,
finals matchup there. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Guys, speaking of things we're looking forward to, tonight, My State Bank Arena, tip-off 8 o'clock. If you're listening to this episode before it starts, get fired up. We're going to be bloody going off. I cannot wait.
Oh, mate, I've been thinking about it ever since you told me we got the tickets. And
I was so happy driving home from work. I was like, give Roll a call. Let him know the good news. And the boys are on.
I haven't been able to wipe the grin off my face, Nick. But, the My State Bank Arena is going to be shaking tonight.
Guys, if you're there, we'll be there. Come say hello to your boys. We're going to be up and about. The energy will be electric. Can't wait to break it all down with you guys next week. Win, lose, or draw, we'll be here breaking down the NBL, the NBA. It's going to be a big, big week.
Absolutely.
Round 2 starts.
Yep.
Unbelievable. So, guys, I tell you what, I'm trying not to smile as I talk now because it's just so exciting. But as always, use that code. That link is in our bio for manscaped.com.au. Use our code Dribble20. Be sure to stay up to date with all of our socials. As we said, there's a lot of news happening over the next week or 2. So be sure to be following to get it as soon as it drops. Subscribe wherever you listen to the show. And we'll talk to you next week. Guys, till then, love you, bye.